Alrighty, in this video we're going to go ahead and fix the replication not firing on other clients and stuff like that, because pretty much it was only firing on the server, as well as we're going to continue setting everything else up. So come over here to our weapon full.h. The replicated, well, B is firing except to replicate, but it's not set to replicate using for our onrep, and that's what I forgot to do. So we're going to change this from replicated to replicated using and set it equal to our onrep function. So now this function will fire for all clients whenever the variable is changed, which will in turn play this based off of this condition. Now what I want to do is I want to set the delay to be different as well. So this from 0.5 to like, and I guess 0.1, so like every millisecond. Let's do like 0.05 and just see what that's like. So that should be pretty much playing this every however many milliseconds that would be, or sub milliseconds. Then our fire, we also want to kind of do the same thing. So we need to kind of think about how we want to go about this. But first off, let's actually set ourselves up to test real quick. So I want to change these to the first person arms. I went ahead and cancel the compile. So I'm going to change this from character get mesh to get mesh 1p for our first person arms. Change this from third person montage to FPS arms montage. And change anything related to third person montage to FPS arms montage. Go ahead and shut down the editor. And this should allow us to kind of see the, what do you call it? See kind of everything play as if we would be seeing it in first person, so to speak. So I mostly just want to be able to see the effects, because we're not really going to be able to hear them as they fire because we're not tabbed into that window and we're not playing it on the client. So that's why we're going visually. So once this finished hanging, go to our character class, click on mesh, change this, search for visible, uncheck it, go to mesh 1p, search for owner, and uncheck only owner C. Compile save, and we're good. Now let's test. So we can see the arms and everything, like so. As you can see, it's playing the fire animation, but insanely quick. Trying to get to a bright spot where you can see the bolt move pretty well. You can see it's just going very fast. So we obviously need to lower this. Lower the timer. There it is. Change that to 0.1. And I'm just going to compile. So pretty much we know everything's being replicated, our firing and all of that. And that's good to go. So now I guess we can start working on what our own client sees, because we have our starting and our stopping of the full auto fire everywhere else except for on us. So what I'm thinking is do the same thing with a timer, because the timer for the on rep is not going to be getting set or cleared on our own client. Instead, we're going to start that timer with the same delay, which is going to be our fire rate. So that's eventually going to be turned into a variable that we can control in the editor. And it'll be about synced up as well as we can. Let's see if this is any better. Well, I mean, it's better. Right now we can kind of see the bolt. It's still a little high, but you know, we're just gonna set it as 0.2 and leave it there for now. So let's create a dedicated function. So I'm gonna do void on client fire. And honestly, we can get rid of this because we're setting it to the owner, but we're gonna leave it in there for now. So on client fire, here's what we want to happen when we fire. So we're gonna be starting and stopping a timer. So we're gonna do the same thing here as firing. Copy that and paste it in here. So what we're going to be doing is, since this can be the locally controlled client, we're going to be calling this function as well. Actually, no, I don't want that. So we're going to instead just set this to on client fire. I changed my mind. And here we're going to play the effects. So go to weapon semi. Here we have our fire. And essentially we're just going to be playing the fire animation and all that kind of stuff, performing our line trace, doing the check to see if we're the server. So I'm going to copy pretty much this entire section from line 108 to 79. Then we need to set shooting player. That's a lot of backspaces. We're going to set shooting player. So a Nazi zombie character shooting player equals ready to cast a Nazi zombie character from get owner. Let's actually wrap this up. So if this ends up being valid, we can run everything. I'm going to print out a log. On client fire. I'm going to comment out this on rep log because that's not really needed. We know it's, working. Now we have our on client fire and we are firing it. We actually need to kind of move this around. So if copy that, change this up. So if we are not firing, we're obviously going to be toggling the firing to true. Just gonna move that up above. We're going to go ahead and start our on client fire the loop. So continually we'll call this on a loop like so. And then from there, whenever we call stop fire, we're going to clear the timer. So get world, get timer manager dot clear timer. And it's going to be the weapon fire handle. That way, this will stop playing for ourselves pretty much immediately. And now we need to clean up this on client fire. So we're already having the effects and all that getting played. So what we're going to do is pretty much get rid of this. So we have if we are the server, we multicast our hit results, which we don't really want to do just yet at the moment because we're going to be, what I'm thinking, just to save a lot of network traffic for full auto weapons, we're going to be playing the hit results on other clients. So that way they can see the impacts for roughly, for kind of like their own selves, that makes sense. So it's not going to be as accurate, but we don't need to be sending, the hit results over the network to all connected clients, well, all relevant clients each time the gun goes off, because that's going to be quite a lot. So instead, if we're the server, what we're going to do is just deal the damage. So we come over here to weapon semi, when we go to the server fire implementation, you do the same yada yada checks. But what we do is we apply the damage, which I actually think we're doing here too, aren't we? Yes. Which obviously this is going to have to be going through again to make sure everything is kind of in order. We're just getting the base features up and working. But what we're going to do is if we're the server, we're going to, let's see, that's already going to apply it. So if we are not the server, we're going to change this. So if we're not the server, we're going to call server fire, pass in the hit result. So here's our server fire implementation. We're going to do this kind of the same dealio here in our server fire implementation. So I'm just going to copy that, paste it in, and get rid of our multicasting because that's not really going to be needed at the moment. So I don't think we're decrementing our ammo. So let's go to our weapon semi, look at how we did it. I think we just called super, which we did. So we would need to pretty much be doing that on here. So what we're going to be doing is calling super fire and passing in shooting player. So that's going to decrement our ammo, at least with the way we have it set up currently. I know this is kind of getting confusing, but this will be getting cleaned up here soon. So now hopefully this will kind of set it up to work on our own client, the client that's shooting. It's really just a lot of merging over and doing some slight changes on how it's going to work. But the main thing is we want the client to be responsive and we want the server to have accurate results on what the client shot, which is why we're passing in the information from the client to the server. All right, so let's just see. So it is firing full auto. It's only playing the arm animation that initial time. That's okay. And it's not playing the single shots because we're releasing the trigger faster than we compress it. So we're also having that initial delay. So what I want to do is in weapon full.cpp, we're going to go to our fire. And what we're going to do is we want to kind of call it immediately for that first time. Well, if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and track this down. First off, for ourselves, we're going to want to call on client fire right away. Then we go to our server, start full auto fire. Server start full auto fire. We call the onrep, which starts up the timer as well. What we're going to want to do here is if firing, what we're going to do is call our play weapon effects. And this will make it kind of instant. So that way when we single click, the effect and stuff like that is still going to play kind of right away. So we don't have to worry about this delay. So if we just do a quick little single click and release it faster than this timer goes off, then it doesn't matter. We're still going to have that initial fire because of this line here that calls that fire function. Well, to play the effects. So wait for that hang up. There we go. So now whenever I do a quick little left click, we should see, you're looking the wrong direction. Move this over. Should see it go off. So you can see my quick little left clicks are working. So you can see everything's kind of working as intended there. The only thing that's not working is the recoil on the arms, and that's due to how we're currently playing them. So if I go to my Nazi zombie character.cpp, go to the on fire, as you can see, we're playing our fire animation. That's not what we want. Instead, what we want to do is we want to play this on our actual client. So when we call our on fire, all we want to do is really just we want to pass in, we want to call our fire function. And the fire function inside the weapon itself is going to do what it does for the third person, or essentially it's going to perform this. It's going to get our FPS or first person arms, that meshes animation instance. It's going to get the montage, make sure that's okay, and then we're going to play the corresponding montage. But we're going to be playing that on the client. So that way everything will be very well controlled and in sync because we're going to be playing just everything from a single function essentially on our client. So let's see how long I've been recording, 15 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. And in the next video, that's how we're gonna go ahead and do the switch over and set it up to do that. So that way everything is controlled inside of our weapon for our arms as well. Pretty much how we did here, which this is what it's doing in our multifunction, but for our third person. That's what we're going to be doing, but for the first person, like I said. So I will see you in the next one we do that. And if you're finding these tutorials helpful and want to help just, donate to me because you like my content, the link to Patreon's in the description. If you want to ask some questions or anything like that, the best way to get a hold of me is in the Discord, which is also linked in the description. So I will see you in the next video when we tackle this little issue with our first person arms.